not occurred to you because, of course, of Braben and that society and that whatever. It was in me because I was doing all of this. I just transferred everything I was doing, who I was, into real life.
Right.
So for me, it was the original CBC.
Yeah.
Step two, when I started university in Catholic University, I felt there needed to be more. There had to be more. I was like, this isn't it. I was seeing my peers spending thousands of shillings on the weekend, doing not much with their cash. I was seeing people who I thought were like Cristiano Ronaldo, but then were doing nothing with their talent.
Wow,
I was seeing people who could sing like Beyonce, but were not doing any. So I was like, nah, this isn't it.
Yeah.
I felt it was so easy to do bad than to do good.
Oh, that's crazy.
So step three, when you're uncomfortable, you have two choices: to hide or change.
Oh.
And I thank God I had the ability to change and to create a platform, Stand Up Shout Out, that saved me and saved many others, to give them hope in action, to give them an opportunity to be more and do more. And the rest is history. And just,
For those that don't know, what is Stand Up Shout Out about?
So Stand Up Shout Out is basically an international non-government organization that I founded, and we're based in 39 counties in Kenya, and then we also run a Pan-African network in 23 African countries. And we're dealing with good governance, youth inclusion, poverty reduction, conservation, and sports. But the main essence is stand up. What do you stand for? What are your values? Shout out, sikelele. How do your actions shout?
Correct.
It's about making African youth the biggest asset in this world. Many people don't want to deal with youth because we're difficult or blah, 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 blah. But to be honest, it's because they don't have the energy, they don't have the vision, and they don't have the patience to position us to be the most essential part of society. So Stand Up Shout Out is really about being a change maker in action. It's about having passion and kujituma, kujiamini na kujitokeleza.
I like that. Steph?
Yeah, I actually like how you say most people don't know how to use the youth. And based on our previous events, like the Mandamano, where the youth are the ones that came together and rallied this country into standing up for our rights, do you think we can rally them into standing up for our animals and our values as well?
I mean, definitely. You know, the one thing I keep telling people, Steph, is we don't do what we do because we love wildlife. We do what we do because we love ourselves. Do you have a dream, Steph?
Yeah, I do.
That dream needs time, right?
Yeah.
So if you need time, it means you need tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So it means tomorrow needs clean air, clean food security, clean water, and a stable climate. So what does that mean? We need nature.
Yeah.
So I think young people just need to understand that their future is interlinked to conservation. Their future is interlinked to nature. And if they have a dream, then they need to protect nature. I think galvanizing young people to do what they need to do for our environment, for our wildlife, for our biodiversity, for our oceans is a no-brainer, and it can definitely happen. And it is happening, not on the bigger scale as Mandamano, but it's definitely happening.
What made you get into the whole environmental space?
Basically, I started Stand Up Shout Out in 2013 when I was 20, and my first gig was doing conservation education, and I was introduced to the special animal called the elephant. The elephant is what we call a keystone species. The elephant is the biggest gardener of our savannah. It will eat 300 kgs of forage, and then it will poop 100 kgs of fertilizer. So it's going around our savannah and forest, planting trees, creating waterways, and it's a keystone species. So if you protect the elephant, you protect all animals. So when I was like, oh wow, one animal can have this much impact, then this is something that I want to be part of. And like I said, I love myself, I have dreams. If I protect nature, I secure my future.
No, it's interesting, we're talking about environmentalism and social justice. I feel like they're so interconnected.
Definitely.
If you look at the country right now, especially at that macro level, you know, that elite level, like, of course, the presidency, co-president, the climate change conversation has really, really gained a lot of traction. But when it comes to social justice, I feel like it's not given that much attention. Yet they're very, very, interconnected. Like you cannot tell me you're going to take care of the environment, yet there are millions of people around that environment who are unemployed, who are suffering from tribalism, extrajudicial killings, right? Why do you think this is the case where it's only one form of activism that's getting traction, but another one doesn't seem like it is?
Because people don't know how to interconnect a story. people don't know how to make something understandable or relatable. When you see the climate change agenda being pushed, it's because there's a lot of resources around it, and also because there's a lot at stake. But we say there can't be climate action without climate justice.
Correct.
Because what is climate change? Climate change is the shift in the weather. It's the drought. It's the floods. What is social justice? It's making sure everyone has a house over their head, food, safe environment, etc. So you can't talk about climate change without climate justice.
Yeah.
So it's about how do we interlink? How do we tell the story? How do we make presidents, how do we make ministers, how do we make our children understand the interlink? When I tell you about wildlife conservation, protecting wildlife and protecting habitats, protect grasslands, protect mangroves. Grass, soil, and mangroves take more carbon from our air than any tree. So if we're telling them, okay, this is what you need to do, and this is linked to climate change, then you tell them, okay, when you do this, that mama in the Manyata who needs to take her child to school, who needs to make sure the cow is fat enough to be sold so they get school fees, needs grass, and that grass needs rain, and that is climate justice. That is social justice. So it's how do you tell the story and relate everything together?
What's the danger of only focusing on one agenda?
The danger of focusing on one agenda without relating is that you'll miss the nitty-gritties. Because if you're going to bring a solution to the table, that solution may not solve everything. I always say, don't take a towel to a village that has no water.
Powerful.
Wow.
JP?
Yeah, as in, I'm just curious. That was deep.
That was crazy. I love it. I love it.
So, like, what are the most, I don't know, craziest experience you've had as a conservationist? Because I'm sure you've worked with animals out there.
Yeah.
Like, just something that was really off the notch, and you're like, whoa.
I mean, every day in the wild is crazy because you're there, you're sleeping in your camp, you have no security, and then, let me tell you. 2021, I won an award, the awards that he's talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle of Savo. I've won this award.
And by the way, guys, these awards are a ton. As in that, it's not just a night thing.
So we changed a goat. We forgot. We were so excited. We forgot to cover the blood. We started,
hyenas.
Hyenas, lions, leopards, cheetahs. We had to light fires everywhere. Pop, to just secure because they were just everywhere. And it was our fault. We didn't clear the blood. They can really smell. So it was quite wild because we were all excited, all having fun, and then you're just saying, ooh.
That's how they sound.
Yeah, lion calling out a lion.
It's interesting you're saying that, but the question is, in fact, the main question right now, Kwanzaa, those sides of Kajiado, Kite, moving forward, can humans actually coexist? Even in Juja, by the way. This is sad because hyenas have been killing people. Can humans and wildlife actually coexist?
Yes, they can. First of all, in Juja, you're talking about rabid hyenas. They're not normal.
Okay.
These hyenas are eating over quarries. They're eating dead fetuses. They whatever. People have had abortions. They've thrown. They've gone eating, they've gotten a taste, they interact with dogs, they get rabies, and they go crazy. So there's a difference between a rabid wild animal who is not behaving normally and an animal that is behaving normally.
Right.
So let's get that clear.
Correct.
But when it comes to coexistence, space for wildlife is decreasing. Tolerance is decreasing. Animosity is increasing. So how do you promote coexistence? Number one, dignify the communities. Don't allow a community member to see an elephant is dying and 3 helicopters come in. But a child was run over by an elephant by mistake and not even one car has come. So you need to dignify, give them a bit of strength, give them a bit of empowerment, respect them. That will allow them to have a bit of power to feel like we are humans. You see us, you feel us. Number two, you need to meet them at their needs. We can't have so much benefits in tourism. Tourism is a huge GDP earner. We can't have so much benefits in our biodiversity, in our payment for ecosystem services. I mean, all the electricity and all the water, where is it coming from? It's from Aberdare, it's from Mount Kenya, it's from where Chulu, whatever it is. These are all places communities and wildlife thrive. They need to benefit. Tangible benefits to the community will increase their tolerance and decrease their animosity and allow them to coexist. Remember, these communities already have been living for centuries, for eons. It is just that they need to live in harmony because, like I said, if I have 5 sheep here, this hyena comes, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
This hyena comes. This hyena
Hilarious.
comes.
Damn.
I call
Okay,
JB a hyena.
yeah.
This hyena comes, eats the 5 sheep.
Yeah.
That's my school fees for my children gone.
Yeah.
So it's not about them coexisting in terms of there's no conflict. No.
Yeah.
It's them coexisting in terms of that conflict doesn't hinder my future.
Right.
That conflict doesn't take away my life.
Yeah.
That conflict doesn't stop me and put me in poverty. So coexistence is about tangible benefits,
Yeah.
dignity, and we're all good.
But there's also stories kutoka kwa ground, if you know what I mean, where certain Kenyans are saying, you know what, KWS are letting us down. Tumepiga kume, tume complain. Kwanza, you being at the board, I'm sure you've probably heard stories like this, but if you haven't, now they're saying, Kwanza, you know, there's a time I used to host a breakfast show at Vibes Radio, and we had this conversation with a few of your colleagues from KWS. Now, Kwanza, when you open the phone lines, they're saying, Kenyans are saying, you know what, KWS are not doing enough to save them from wild animals. They've complained a lot. So it almost feels as if strategies of, bringing about this coexistence is failing. Now we're having elephants getting into people's villages, lions. Even the other day we saw them in Rongai.
You know what?
So are
That's actually quite true.
are these strategies failing? Because what's going on?
I love the question, and you have to understand, it's not about the strategies. Space is decreasing. So when you say elephants are entering XYZ, elephants roam corridors from what they learned from their mothers. But now they're roaming in this corridor and there's 5 new houses.
Right.
Lions lived in Nairobi National Park, but now Rongai is a huge town. So they've gone there and they're like, oh, there's a house here, but I used to chill here with my girl.
Correct.
So that's why I'm telling you, the strategy is when I say communities need to be heard. You see, when someone doesn't feel heard or seen, there's an issue.
Yeah.
But also as KWS, we've been understaffed. Only recently, we've been able to hire 1,500 rangers.
Oh.
And that's going to help us. So in December, we're going to launch. And that's going to help us because we've been understaffed. And we cover the whole country. So a lot of things are changing. And we recently launched a strategic plan. Though I'm not here as KWS, but we recently launched a strategic plan. And that strategic plan is going to bring that harmony. That's going to bring the coexistence. That's going to bring the dignity. And you have to understand, I'm not on the board for no reason. New thinking, new energy.
I agree.
And the government is serious. Let me just say that. The government is serious about wildlife and it's serious about people.
Yeah.
Trust me. They're serious about people and they really want people to thrive. They want wildlife to thrive.
Yeah.
They want people and nature to coexist.
I agree.
Yeah.
Are you seeing more young people getting involved with animals and social rights and...
Let me tell you, we call it Ready Youth for Conservation and Leadership, and it is a surge. And that's why even in terms of stand-up shout-out, in terms of KWS, we're trying to create space and platforms for young people to be onboarded because there hasn't been. People have been graduating with degrees, people have been jitumaing, but there hasn't been space or opportunities. So there is actually a huge surge of environmentalists and conservationists, of young people who really want to be involved, and it's quite big. You may not be hearing it, you'll be hearing it soon. There's quite a huge surge, but there's not enough space and opportunity, not enough structured space and opportunity.
All right, JP?
Yeah, so I know you talked about the importance of how you guys, the government, for example, cares about wildlife. At the same time, it cares about the people. What does KWS do to keep the balance between the needs of the animals and the needs of the people?
One thing that my chairman always says is that any plan will take you anywhere. And hence I keep talking about our new strategic plan. And the one thing that we're seeing is that, as I just said, the benefits to people living in wild spaces must increase. So looking at carbon credits, biodiversity credits, looking at how can we improve the livelihoods of people living around protected areas, looking at conservancies. So there's a lot of new thinking that is coming, but there's always pushback because making people trust you after a long time. I always say, before I was born, before 1992, you know what they used to do? They used to kick everyone out and say, this is a park. Before 1992.
Yeah.
But now everyone is saying people at the center of conservation. So there's a shift happening and it takes time, but I can tell you, everyone involved in conservation right now understands that whether you love a lion more than you love a person, if you don't help the person, your lion is gone.
Right.
And that's the understanding. Everyone now understands. So for us, we love communities and we know communities need social justice.
Yeah.
But everyone in conservation, whether they love community or not, must, because it is the only way to protect our natural space, because they are the guardians. They are the forefront of protecting our natural resources.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you're just joining us, Peter Fredrick Moll is in the building, CEO and founder of an organization known as Startup Shout Out. And of course, he's also on the board of directors, Kenya Wildlife Service. We're talking about everything social justice and environmentalism. Now, I'm just reading something over here. Let's switch some gears. Let's talk about climate change. Now, the National Climate Change Action Plan, NCCAP 3, 2023 and 2027, is the third 5-year plan that presents detailed priority actions that Kenya will embark on to address climate change in the medium term planning period and also contribute to the achievement of our NDC under the Paris Agreement. Now, some of the priorities that Kenya articulated are adaptation, reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, afforestation and reforestation, landscape restoration, climate smart agriculture, geothermal and clean energy development, good energy efficiency and drought and flood risk management. Now, my question is very simple. When it comes to this whole thing for, ensuring a greener country and a cleaner future, of course, by everyone, private sector and, of course, government, are we on the right trajectory so far? More needs to be done.
Let me just say something. It may be controversial or not. We as Africans and we as Kenyans are doing the most. And we are not emitting even a quarter of what the West are emitting. So we are doing the most, and we are actually leaders. That's why you see His Excellency being able to stand on stages and be very proud, because Kenya is a leader in conservation. Actually, our professionals in conservation, whether it's climate, whether it is agriculture, smart agriculture, whether it's marine, whether it's wildlife, we have the best of the best, the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop. Worldwide
Impressive.
In Kenya.
Yeah.
So we are on the right track. I think the only thing that we have to do is whatever we do, we need to do it correct, and it has to be data driven.
Yeah.
And the young people need to have a structured, meaningful engagement. Right now, I'm seeing young people picked and dropped, but there's no meaningful, structured engagement, and that's what we're working on. That's what we're pushing for. Yeah. Everyone says youth must.
Yeah.
Youth must be included, but no one puts money behind it and no one puts meaningful structured. But now the government is trying, and now Kenya Wildlife Service is trying, but we have to push it and make sure that we're leaving a legacy.
Yeah. It's interesting you're saying that, because I remember back in the day I had a conversation with certain youth, and they were saying even this money for climate action, it's the youth who engage with these manenos like garbage collection. They're the ones who are deep in the villages over there cutting down trees. So they need more education, but the monies never get to them.
Yeah, I mean, we say partners in the vision. Don't call us to plant a tree. Don't call us to clean up. Let us co-create, co-plan, co-manage, benefit share, everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what you call meaningful engagement. We don't just be called, come and plant a tree. Yeah, we have the energy, yeah, we have the numbers, but we also have the intellect. We also can manage, we can also plan, and we can implement. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. What's one memory that stands out for you in your lifetime that just changed everything?
Oh, Steph getting deep with it again.
Getting personal with it.
I think actually it's recent. It's recently. I took my grandfather so I built a school in the name of my grandmother who raised me. So I took my grandfather.
Where's the school?
In Amboseli.
Very nice.
So I took him for the launch of some new classes that we built, and one of the student choirs that we support in the area did a poem about me, and he reached over and he said, "Well done, man. Well done. Really good." And I was like, wow. So for me, that him being there, and him seeing the impact and really feeling it, for me was gratification of all the sacrifices I've done, because my family never believed, right? They never believed. So now proving the point that this is the path and I could do it, and where I've reached, they're really believing and really proud. And most of the time people don't have their family believe. So to anyone out there, don't let your family not believe you stop you. You can do it, and when you succeed, they'll love you. Don't worry.
I like that. And there's some people till this day, Kwanzaa in Kenya, it's interesting you're mentioning belief. Who believe climate change is a hoax?
It's true. They say the world is flat.
Yeah. What do you have to tell these guys?
But it's because of the language. If you told a farmer, it used to rain now, and then it used to not rain now, but now it rains here, and then it doesn't rain here.
Yeah.
That is climate change. You'll be like, oh, yes. So it's how we're speaking, man. It's how we're speaking. Even when you talk about climate smart agriculture. I even said it at the UN one time. I said, these SDGs, you came and told our farmers, use this pesticide, nini. Now you're coming to tell our farmers, no, don't use the pesticides. Let's do organic. No. Apologize to our farmers because they used to do it the right way.
Exactly.
They used to do it the best way.
Wow.
You're the ones who came and said, do it this way.
Damn.
Then now you're saying, so indigenous knowledge, we know climate change.
Yeah.
It's just the language. How we communicate. So to everyone out there, climate change is not a weird thing that everyone is saying. Climate change is simply, it no longer rains when it should.
Like that. Do you believe we're living... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I like how he says, it no longer rains when it should. But now we have countries like Dubai who are manufacturing their own rain. So do you think that's something that we could try and implement in countries in Africa, especially like sub-Saharan Africa?
So number one is the bottom line. So for Dubai, what is their budget compared to an African country? So is it worth doing it? Then number two, I don't think there's enough data to show that it's safe, because just recently Dubai flooded.
True.
So, there is ways that technology can help us, but there's not enough information to really be taking a risk with money, but it may reach a point where we have to take the risk. So it's a balance between R&D, research, etc. Yeah,
it's interesting how a few months ago we had heavy rains wreak havoc in the country thoroughly. Yeah, we had some of the worst floods ever in history, probably. Now, moving forward, I believe it's not even a question of if, it's a question of when and where some sort of natural disaster will happen again. Now we have our own disaster management efforts. My question is, do you think we've learned our lessons moving forward? Are you satisfied? Do you believe
no
government and county governments can do enough to at least prevent disaster from happening? Not disaster response, to even just prevent.
Yeah, I think the number one thing I've been preaching post-COVID is a rapid response unit for natural disasters, whether it's floods, whether it's droughts, whatever it is. And I think we can do more, and we need to do more. And I hope I do have the strength to push within my own corner, because when you talk about climate change, we don't talk about all these natural disasters that are going to be coming because of climate change. And we don't talk about the preparedness. It's always a reaction. So I think there's more we should do, especially now in the kind of the calm. We need to jipanga.
Right.
We're not doing enough.
I actually like that you mentioned that, because if you look at the way Kenya is, we can sort of predict some of our issues. Our issues is like, people move into places that used to be rivers, used to be lakes. So when it rains, it comes and floods. And then we don't have water harvesting systems equipped to cater for all that rain. So after the rain, we have droughts. Then we're saying, we don't have water because we didn't have that reserve. And most of our
don't
dams,
harvest these waters.
Most of our dams have not even been updated.
That's the craziest thing. When you were talking about the floods, before the floods, there was a drought. The worst drought we ever had. And then we had floods, and there's a crazy story. In Amboseli, there's a long stretch of road, and when it rains, it just floods like a stream. And no one is collecting a bucket, no one is harvesting. And then 1 year later, you're in drought, your cows are dying. So it's also poverty of the mind.
Wow.
Do
you think we're living in the era of catastrophes?
We're living in the era or the moment. Let me say, we're living in the moment where we can change the tides of time to the direction we want. The era of catastrophes is close, but it's not there. We are in a moment where we need to do more and be more. As I said, we have dreams, and we have to secure the future by protecting nature. As
we wrap up this conversation, before you jump in, Steph, how has working with youth, working with the environment, being so resourceful, how has it changed you as a person, man?
What a beautiful question. I think it hasn't changed me. It's strengthened me.
Oh, okay.
It's allowed me to work on my flaws. When you're working with young people can be so straightforward. Or young people can be so impatient. And I'm a young person as well. And so it strengthened my core. And seeing people getting the hope they need and the opportunity they need to live to their fullest strengthens my soul. And that purpose, living your purpose, just gives you so much strength. So I think for me, nature fulfills me, helping people fulfills me, and throughout all this I've just been strengthened. Like I feel very strong.
Peter, gotta be real, man. You know, I thought you were gonna be named as a minister, RPS, this whole broad-based government, man. I was like, Peter, if Peter's name is not there, something is not right over here. You know, do you see yourself getting into some sort of elective position?
God's plan. Let's see, because I think I've just been answering the call. I've been answering if it's like, you need to do more, you need to do this. I don't shy away from the call to duty. So wherever I'm called to duty, if it's within me, I always do it. If it's not within me, I jituma.
All right. Steph?
Yeah, so let me take you down memory lane.
Steph.
It's a nice one.
Okay.
You're gonna like it. So back in the day, you know, when we had iPods and Walkmans and all that, what was that one song for you that you would play continuously that would get you through sad times, happy times? Like that was just your jam.
I love dancing. So it was Chris Brown's
Encyclopedia music, please.
It was like, let me talk to you. I think wall to wall.
Wall to wall. Okay, look at us, man. You're so millennial vibes. I swear, you know, I don't even have it, Peter.
So you guys are just throwing questions amongst yourselves.
Oh, wow.
Before I step in. So
You guys, when you were supposed to...
was I not supposed to be on this show?
You're so needy.
Before you say I'm sensitive.
So you know what, JP? You gotta push your agenda.
No. You guys can just interview me for 5
Z,
minutes.
you guys, you were so quiet. I'm wondering. This guy is quiet. We might as well continue.
It's on his laptop. He comes back up and we're like,
JP, I swear, wow, you're gonna be that needy. How many less now? You know what you're gonna do?
Here's a question.
You're gonna throw in your
There's
question.
a question I really need to ask you, because a friend of mine, Guitar, I'm snitching, he opened his fridge, and then there was this huge roll of crocodile skin. Like literally he just unrolled it and was like, whoa, like long meters. So this wildlife trade, how is it gonna end?
So you need to understand one thing. When it comes to the wildlife economy, there is some that is legal and there's some that is illegal. Now, wildlife trade, the one that is illegal is because one is inhumane, or two, the populations can't sustain it. So crocodile meat is legal. Ostrich meat is legal. Ostrich eggs is legal. But I don't know if that guy is legal. So you need to double check.
Does he have papers?
You need to double check. But there's a thin line. And the main thing is about sustainability. We shouldn't do anything that affects a population, and also anything that is inhumane.
So if an elephant dies because of natural disasters, is it wrong to take its tusks and be like, you know what, I'm going to put this on my wall as, you know, sort of like a memorial?
You see, the issue with any trophies or trinkets is that it fuels the trade. So the moment, as you've heard him, he said he has a friend who throwed a crocodile. Now JB is like, that look good. Or you have someone who found an ivory from a dead elephant and then gives it to a friend. Then the friend tells another person, they're like, oh, I want more ivory. So the black market, and we always say demand and supply. So it's about fueling the trade, and that's why any sort of ivory trade, any sort of rhino trade will fuel the trade and allow our animals to get extinct.
That's interesting. Before we let you go, actually you mentioned something very, very strange, actually shocking. Our neighbors are trying to do away with our elephants. What's the story?
So this is the first time I'm speaking about this publicly, so I'll be very clear. We have something called trophy hunting, and our neighbors in Tanzania practice trophy hunting, and we don't mind. They do what they want to do. But like I said, our elephants have corridors, and there's a corridor between Amboseli and Mount Kilimanjaro, which is in Tanzania. So because of this corridor, our Amboseli elephants, our beautiful elephants, are walking to Tanzania and getting killed, getting hunted. And some of them are the big tuskers who have strong genetic makeups, who produce amazing, strong elephants, right? So they are being hunted in a very, just 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers from our border. And this is in dispute of our agreement of nothing should happen in that area because that is an area where elephants migrate.
Yeah.
So all we're saying is, please leave our elephants that we share with you alone. Go and hunt inside Tanzania, but don't hunt and affect the genetic makeup, which will affect the future of our Amboseli elephants.
So is this just a case of, telling them what to do, like, please avoid doing this, that? Is there any practical things that the government is doing to at least help end the loss of our elephants?
So it's a diplomatic issue. If you remember, Tanzania stopped our planes from flying. Do you remember that just recently?
Overboard.
So it's a diplomatic issue, and we have to deal with it diplomatically. And that's why I'm speaking about this for the first time diplomatically. We want to respect the sovereign rights of every country.
Right.
But when those sovereign rights affect our rights, then we have to mitigate that crisis. So all we're saying, like I said, you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But tafadhali, let's have peace on our border. Let's have peace with our wildlife. On
Tafadhali,
Tuheshimiane.
goose the elephant.
Tuheshimiane.
But sorry, elephants.
Hata nyoka zetu wachane nazo.
Wanachukua hapa manyoka pia. Are you serious? That's actually crazy.
So I think
snakes they can have.
We got some really beautiful snakes around here.
Yeah,
you
we
touch
also
the
have snakes
Kenyan-
walking around Nairobi, but still.
Dare you touch the Kenyan mosquitoes?
Peter, thank you so much.
Right.
Yeah, I think my part in short is just
Yeah.
basically everyone has something they can offer. I think right now hope is a commodity that is scarce, and hope people think it's very fragile, but no, hope in action. Take a step, do something. And I always tell the older generation, stop doing things without us, because we shall live in this future without you.
Wow. Peter, by the way, do you think we're in a revolutionary phase?
I don't know.
You don't know. You'd rather not talk about that. Sawa, no pressure.
Diplomacy.
Peter Fredrick Moll,
Asante.
CEO and founder of Stand Up Shout Out, and of course, Board of Directors, Kenya Wildlife Service. It is all about social justice and environmentalism. It's been real, bro. Sasa, tukirudi, we're cruising the internet, Steph.
Yes,
A
we are.
lot of stories happening out there. Also, we're going to talk about, some what the fact. Sorry, what the facts? Why am I so cautious? So, guys, good evening, Tunde Kazi.
94.4 Spice FM. Nairobi.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a great listener of Spice FM.
You play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice.